All right, thank you so much. The program still this morning on ITV. Now, the issue of pyramids is coming back to Nigeria as it relates to agriculture. I remember way back in the 80s, we used to see the granite pyramid, the cocoa pyramids, and of course, other agricultural commodities that, you know, Nigeria as a nation really depended on. As a matter of fact, as at then, we didn't need to do any oil exploration. We did not need to depend on oil. And we had our economy intact and, of course, our nation intact. Well, you may wonder what actually happened. Good enough, yesterday, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, PNB, unveiled some pyramids of rice in Abuja. And it's a good one to know that it has, you know, something that is going to build on something else, because just like what the President said, that it's just a new beginning. Well, to talk about this this morning and also see how we can sustain this, I've got Dr. Mrs. Stella Ovonigo, who is a lecturer with the Department of Foreign Languages, University of Benin. Madam, you welcome to this program this morning on ITV.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers at home. Thanks for having me.
I'm sure when you saw the President unveiling those pyramids, launching those pyramids yesterday, you laughed. It brought you, you know, memorable feelings of how it was in the 80s. But I really want you to speak on how do you feel when you saw that yesterday?
Well, before I talk about this, I want to first of all wish all our viewers at home a happy new year, and I pray that this year will be good for us in Jesus' name. Having said that, I would like to also congratulate the President and his team for the show of yesterday, for putting up that show of yesterday by unveiling that pyramid. It's a welcome.
When you say show,
yes, when I say a show, because you know it's a kind of show off of the wealth of the nation and what they have been able to achieve. So I congratulate him for that. But why saying that? You know, we also hope that this will kind of be the beginning of food supply in Nigeria. But some people have their reservations, of course, you know, concerning the pyramid. In those days, when we were talking about pyramid, you know, people were part of building this pyramid. People were part of putting this pyramid together and then see it from the beginning to the end, you know, to the top. But, you know, in this case, what we just heard was that they were building a pyramid, and then the next thing was that we have a rice pyramid. A lot of Nigerians have been having reservations concerning the pyramid. But what is of importance is the availability of this food and the good distribution of this food across the nation. Now, why I said that I'm congratulating them with reservation is that there are some questions that came to mind yesterday when I was watching it. And one of the questions is, was this rice grown in Abuja? And then why should it be that it was all assembled, the 1.2 million bags as claimed, were all assembled in Abuja? I could imagine the cost of transportation from wherever the rice was grown from that place to Abuja. And then now cost of transportation again to distribute these bags of rice across the nation. Now the question that comes to mind is, why was the pyramid, or why were pyramids not built in places where the rice was grown? I'm aware that rice was grown through the Anchor Borers program, you know, launched by the CBN governor, yes, you know, sometime in 2015. And then some states benefited from it, some farmers in some states benefited from it. And we're told that as at yesterday, over 4.5 million farmers, you know, benefited from this scheme. Now, they were all across the nation. So one would have expected that farmers from a particular state would have gathered their produce, you know, to build a pyramid in that particular state. Even if the pyramid is not necessarily as high as what we saw in Abuja yesterday, but at least let it be that this one is from Ebonyi, this one is from Edo State, this one is from Jigawa State. Now, transporting all of them to Abuja, don't you think that will also now add to the price of the rice eventually? And then now transporting it to distribute across the nation, it will add again, and at the end of the day, we will be paying the same amount we are paying for foreign rice for local rice, because they will now put all this you know, logistics, the cost of logistics into it, and then the purpose is defeated. we should, that's why I called it a show. If it had been indigenous to different states, we'll have heard that. And then people also specified that the pyramid was not really a true pyramid. That, you know, it was a kind of, there was something built in between, and then the rice was just used to cover the plank, you know.
Okay, but the shape of the rice that we saw is the pyramid.
You know, let me tell you. Yeah. But my point is, whether it is 1.2 million or whether it is 200 bags or, let them distribute it accordingly to Nigerians at minimal rate. Because they were telling us that they were importing rice from Thailand before, and that they had to block the importation of rice from Thailand so that we could, you know, promote our own rice, which is very beautiful. Now make it available at a cheaper rate, far cheaper rate, as less as what we're having it as at 2015. If it is not as cheap as what we're having a bag of rice at 2015, then that purpose is still defeated. Okay. Because the major reason why they stopped importation of rice to Nigeria was to grow our own indigenous rice. Now we have our rice. One will expect that the bag of rice will go back to 8,500 naira against the 30,000 we are buying it today.
All right, so like what we said, it's a good start. There's no doubt about that, because it's actually the first sequence of time. What I mean by the first sequence of time, I had also really thought that it's the first time that we're having this kind of pyramid after a long while. But little do many Nigerians know that we actually had this some few months backwards. I remember when the president was even speaking at the launch, he said that we had a similar thing in the southwest, and of course one time somewhere around in the southeast. But this one had to be shown to the public so that people will get to know. I guess also that this is about the largest, about 1.2 million bags of rice. Only that the rice, they are not processed yet. They are still in their raw state. So we're going to need people, we're going to need the Rice Farmers Association, who have also farmed this rice to be part of the processing, so that we can have them in their finished state. But let us look at, you know, the possibility of us trying to, you know, this attempt that we have made now by the CBN and even by the federal government, the possibility of trying to direct it to other, you know, aspects of agriculture. Take, for example, cocoa production. As we speak now, is at its lowest ebb in the country. Granite production, beans production, and all that. So let's talk along that line, Dr. Mrs., so that we can begin to have surplus of beans. Beans is very expensive in the market. A rubber of beans in Benin State sells for 1,800 to 2,200 naira for a rubber of beans of about 12 cups. So do you see the possibility of us having beans pyramids?
Look, Mr. Evans, we have possibility of doing anything we want to do. Nigerians are very hardworking. Nigerians are ready to survive. They are fighting for survival. All they need is a little, you know, support and a little push and guidance, and they will do this. People are growing farms. Let me tell you, from what we saw yesterday, what came to my mind also was that it is a good thing if CBN could do this. They could also do it for other aspects, other food, you know, products. But the problem is the genuineness of the show of yesterday. That's what I was trying to say. Nigerians are hungry. There are so many Nigerian youths who do not have jobs. We have even our NYSC there. So what we can do is to sit down and strategize and see how we can give this scheme to well-meaning Nigerians. Not a matter of saying that you release X point Y amount of money for food farming, and then then 1/3 of it has been, 1/3 of it is just given to the food farming, and the other, the 2/3, has been diverted, as what we see in the country from time to time. What I'm trying to say is that it is possible for us to grow cassava like this and have a Gari pyramid. It is possible for us to grow beans and have a beans pyramid, or have beans pyramids everywhere in all states in the country, if all governors are mandated so to do. But the problem again is, who are the people that they will give this contract to? Before you know it, they will give it to a contractor will sublet it to another contractor, and the purpose at the end will be defeated. I asked a question which, you know, I thought we were going to deliberate upon. Why transport all the rice that was produced from all parts of the country to Abuja.
Okay, but
why don't they display pyramid in Ebonyi?
Yeah, but
why was a pyramid not displayed in Edo? Because I know that we produce rice in Edo. By the time you are talking about beans again, you say the same thing. And at the end of the day, you find out that these things may not also be true.
Okay,
so we also need a monitoring body that will monitor the products of what they are doing, whether actually these things are realistic or they are not. But as for me, I know that Nigerians are ready to work if well funded. Nigerians are ready to grow food. Food will not be a problem to us if actually Ministry of Agriculture is doing what it's supposed to do by, bringing us groups and locating farmers in rural areas to help, to support, and to get good portions of land, to work good portions of land, and to give them preservatives also for this product. But what do we see? By the time you give somebody, the government approves 20,000 naira for fertilizer for a farmer. Before the 20,000 naira gets to the farmer, the 20,000 naira becomes 1,500, and you want the farmer to produce something of that 20,000 naira. How possible? And at the end, you start blaming the farmer, because we have seen it all on news, we have seen it on the on papers, where they now put the blames on farmers, that money was given to farmers and farmers did not utilize the money well. The farmers also have come out.
Yeah, but I think we need to applaud the federal government this time, because if you look at the method that they use now,
it is election time again. We are approaching election, and you see things are going to be unfolding in 2022 to see that the government is working.
Well,
I pray that things continue to work, and we'll see how it comes out.
You may look it that way, but the point we must look at the truth, the facts of the issue. Now, what is the fact? You talked a while ago that how come they had to assemble all the rice in Abuja. Now, as we speak now, there's an international trade fair going on in Abuja, as organized by Federal Ministry of Commerce. So those bags of rice needed to be taken to a particular place so that
you see, that is it.
We're talking about
now,
Nigeria
how will a common Nigerian? How will a common Nigerian, the peasants, a common citizen, an average Nigerian, how will an average Nigerian now have access to this rice? Now somebody, a distributor will come. Hold on.
Let's give benefits of the doubt.
It's the benefit of that we are trying to now. Let me tell you, let me tell you, my brother, let us be realistic. I'm just trying to tell you, as an economist, to a large extent, I want to try to understand the cost of transportation. Who bears the cost of transportation of this produce to Abuja, and who bears the cost of transportation of this produce from Abuja to various parts of the country?
Well, I
it
think
is the end users at the end, and the money will still go on top of the bag of rice.
Yeah, but remember this whole rice issue was actually made possible by the CBN through the Borrowers Anchors program, and the way the arrangement that the CBN had with the farmers. It was that, look, we will give you the money, then in return you give us the bags of rice, the unprocessed bags of rice. And of course, kudos to the farmers now that actually did that. They gave the federal government, okay, take the bags of rice in equivalent to the amount that they took from the federal government through the CBN. Now, let us look at the issue of insecurity, Doctor. Because that is still a major problem in our country. Now, because we are trying to look at the possibility of us as a nation having more pyramids of agricultural commodities. We've talked about beans, we've talked about rice that we talked about now, we are talking about groundnuts and all that. Now, the issue of insecurity is a big problem. Can we continue to have this kind of pyramids when we still have the issue of insecurity in our land?
It is possible. It is possible. Let me tell you, if you engage youths and if you engage people, most times when you check very closely, the reason why we have so much unrest and insecurity in the nation is because of hunger, poverty, and people not really being gainfully employed, and people unsatisfied with leadership. That is what is causing insecurity. Now, when you engage people more, for example, Nigeria has a large expanse of land that has not been cultivated. We have them all over. For example, if you cultivate from Ekiadolo now to Ore, and you don't have, instead of bush, you have different types of agricultural products, you have different types of farms there, and you have people engaging people on a daily basis. You are paying them well, you are treating them well as they should be treated. I don't think people will be interested in going to the street to go and kill their fellow neighbors when they are busy and they are happy with what they have. Let me tell you, going into farming is not punishment. We have graduates even from the University of Benin who are into farming. As I speak with you, we have some of our 400 level students, 300 level students of the Department of, of the Faculty of Agriculture with large farms of vegetables. They sell it at very cheap rate to us on campus there. You have people with corn, you have people with fish. Now, when you engage these people, by the time they finish with their farms, when they go back home, when will they have time for all the social vices? They may not have time. So what I'm trying to say is that everything is possible, but it just depends on how truthful. When Nigerians know that our leaders are truthful and they are really genuine to us, you see everybody coming out to put in our own input to carry the nation forward. It is possible for us to have pyramids everywhere because we have the money and we have the space for farming. But how can we encourage people to farm? You cannot tell me that there is something we call anchor borrower scheme, and then you don't give me the exact amount, that I see on paper. I see on paper that 500,000 naira has been approved for me to go into farming, and then you come and you give me 150,000 naira, and you expect me to pay back 500,000 naira. It doesn't work that way. I have seen several people, even in my community, where the farmers had to reject the scheme because they found out that it was a bit shocking and stringent for them. What they saw on paper was 500,000 naira approved to them, and then what was brought to them in the community was 150,000 naira for the farmers to pay back 500,000 naira within a period of time. It doesn't work that. The question is, where is the remaining 350,000 naira? So what is actually going to kill this thing? And I pray it doesn't, because like I said, it's a good beginning. It's a good start. Yeah. If actually some people they will not make it political. The problem we are having is that it's not that we don't have good inspiration, not that we don't have good initiatives. We have good initiatives, but people out of greed tend to just divert it, and then before you know it, the whole thing will become politicized and will become corrupt. Okay. That's the problem we are having. All right, if it is possible for us to produce garri in abundance, that garri will not be selling for 100 naira per plate per rubber. It is possible for us to grow beans, that beans will not be so cheap, and then we'll not start exporting. And we used to before oil was discovered in Nigeria, were we not living on agriculture? Were we not happy? People were engaged, and nobody had time to go and stand on the road with gun. But because people are no longer engaged, you entice youth with money, and you entice with money that they cannot imagine having in the next 50 years. You just entice them with it, deceive them into it. By the time this money is no longer available, they want to sustain that tempo, and that's why you see so many vices in the society. All right, thank you so much. It's a good one, we must say, and kudos to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture in collaboration with the federal government and also the CBN. Now, we talked about our agricultural heritage, because for us, for somebody like me, I think I can still remember those pyramids in the 80s, the granite pyramids in Kano, the cocoa pyramids in Ibadan, and of course other food pyramids in the country. But for our kids now, they don't know except the ones that they've read in books, on literature piece and all that. But for the fact that we are beginning to see food pyramids in Nigeria, it goes to show that there's plenty of hope in our country. So we just pray that we give the much support to the federal government so that we begin to see all these pyramids of food, so that prices of food items in the country will begin to come down. Now, let's look at the 2023 election. I did say that it's going to be one thing that we're also talking about now. Now, the Senate, the National Assembly, is going back to work today. They are resuming plenary today. Yes. And of course, the issue of the 2021 electoral bill is going to come up. There's no doubt about that. As a matter of fact, we understand that after much said and done, they may just look at it one more time so that they will send it to the president for passage. That's on one side. And of course, we also saw the emergence of some big political bigwigs across various political parties in the country.
To be specific, the PDP, the All Progressives Congress, making their intentions known that they want to run for office of the president come 2023. But what we seem not to be seeing now is the third force. The third force seems to be absent. Now, I remember the last election. We saw that it was very, very eminent in 2015 election. We saw it, that metamorphosed into the APC and all that. And of course, we saw a bit of that in the last election. But this time around, we are not hearing of it. We are not seeing it. Now, what do you think will be the implication of this as we glide towards the 2023 presidential election?
Well, coming to the forthcoming 2023 elections and the political parties that we have in Nigeria right now, I will say that right now the political arena is being dominated by two major parties, the PDP and the APC. And one would have thought, as Obasanjo once muted some time ago, that there was going to be a third force. One would have thought that there will be another party that will come, in kind of opposing or checkmating these two dominant parties. But unfortunately, none was registered, or we have not seen anyone emerging yet. But I have not lost hope. I'll tell you why shortly. But I quickly want to talk about the importance of having a third force. The major reason why we have this political recycling of the same people who ruled our great-grandfather are still coming back to want to rule our grandchildren, it is because there is no third force. And so they keep recycling. They say, you see, they will leave PDP today, they will go to APC, later they will come to APC, they are just going up and down and taking Nigerians for fools. Even though we have not, there is no third force in quotes, registered as this is going to be a kind of third force against these existing dominant parties. It is possible to work a third force out from the political parties on ground right now. And why do I say that? That may be determined by the candidate, a candidate that may come out. Right now, what I think Nigerians, I think to a large extent have gone beyond voting for parties. What they are now looking at is voting for people. Starting from, taking example from what happened in Edo State during the last gubernatorial election. When Governor Obaseki was in APC, people moved to APC, and then immediately he went to PDP. So people were not voting for parties, but they were voting for the personality, for the candidate. So I'm seeing a situation where we're still hoping that a candidate will emerge that will now make Nigerians to form a kind of coalition to back up that candidate that they feel is eligible enough, that they feel is honest enough, that they feel they can entrust their lives into for the next 4 years. And by the time this particular person brings up his followership will now form that third force. Now,
the problem has been the fact that most times when this third force emerges, when the third force emerge, now they just cling to an existing party. Like, for example, what happened in Edo State. Well, somehow, you may also want to say that was a third force movement. The governor had to pick the People's Democratic Party. So for most people, they want to see a situation whereby a third force comes out on a neutral political ground. It becomes a party, because the truth of the matter is that most times the way electorates behave, electorates somehow at times are tired of the political parties. They want to see a new party. So for them, when they see these candidates stay clinching to an existing party that they are trying to run from, it becomes an issue for them, Doctor.
No, let me tell you, in the case of Edo State, I wouldn't see it that way. If Obaseki had gone to Labour Party or AFGA, anywhere, people were ready to go anywhere with Obaseki. I'm telling you. In fact, I saw a situation whereby so many other political parties voted for Obaseki in PDP, not because it was PDP, but because it was Obaseki. And that's why I said that a third force can actually be created even now by a candidate. Let me tell you, after primaries, this is what I foresee. After the APC and PDP national convention, and they come out with a particular candidate, and Nigerians are not comfortable with that, with either of the candidates of these political parties, and then maybe they feel that they are surer of another candidate who is a little strong, you know, in character and everything, you will see people veering towards that.
And the third force will emerge.
And the third force will emerge. And I think I see it coming very soon. That is, if after their conventions, if this political party, these dominant political parties will still be as dominant, as strong as they are now, with what we are hearing, you know, with all the oppositions here and there, with don't hold convention, you must hold convention, the convention must be from here, the candidate must be from this region. From what we are seeing playing out, I see a situation whereby after those conventions, a third force will emerge. I just feel it's just a matter of time. But what I want to tell, the point I'm trying to make is that Nigerians should not just forget so easily pains of the past. Nigerians should not forget so easily pains of the present. Nigerians should start thinking of how to get out of their pains. And the only thing that can help Nigeria out in 2023 is a third force. Is a third force, whether through a candidate or through a political party. But we should all watch out for a third force. This recycling of politicians that we are seeing, we say, okay, out of two devils, we'll take the better devil. I'm sorry to use this word and say, okay, let's go for Atiku, or let's go for Sibanjo, or let's go for Tinubu. Look, if Nigerians know how to use their tongue to count their teeth, they should start it now. Because these people who have been in power before, who have not helped us in any way, I don't see them coming to say that, okay, now, because I'm the one in charge, I can help. If you want to help, if any politicians want to help, if they had the intention of helping, they should start helping from now. They will have started helping since yesterday, so that through their participation, through their activity, through their pedigree, we will now say that, this person has been trying to help Nigeria to come out of insecurity all this while. This person has been speaking against corruption all this while. This person has not been involved in all these things. So therefore, this person is eligible enough for us to entrust our lives into his hands. We should be careful. Now, and lastly, let me quickly, sorry, before I lose my line of thought, I also want to say, let me tell you, when we're talking about this thought for something, it doesn't just come automatically. It's something that we need to work towards. It's something that we need to negotiate for. It's something that we need to look closely. And in fact, Nigerians right now, all electorates, if you are not a politician, if you are not a thief, I think what you should do now is to all of us should join hands together to form this workforce and produce a candidate.
Okay, now the problem most times, even when we have the third force emerging, you still find a situation whereby it's probably just a change of nomenclature, a change of political nomenclature. We probably saw that in the southeast, whereby the PDP, some members of the PDP broke out and formed the All Progressives, the All Progressives Congress now, the APCA and all that. Then also we also saw even the APC at the national level. Somehow it's a product of the third force. So what we are saying here is that most times when we have this third force coming out as a party, these political bigwigs that we try to run from, they still go on and capture this third force as a party, and people at the end of the day, the electorate would have any other option than to still vote for them.
You know what I felt when I was in the university in those days, when there was no money and we're suffering. We used to tell ourselves that it is in suffering that you have sense. It is when you are suffering that you give, you reason more, and you ask yourself some questions, and then you re-strategize on, how to come out of these sufferings permanently. If after these years, especially in the recent years, that Nigerians have not been able to reason, and Nigerians have not been able to recognize enemies of this nation, then we are going to suffer for long.
Who are really the enemies of the nation?
I may not be able to say if we don't know. If we don't know. What I'm trying to say is that all these politicians who have been there since 1960s, who who have been there since, and they are seeing Nigerians suffering, and the riches are just going around the circle, within a particular circle. If Nigerians have not realized them, that they just come, they just give us peanuts, and then we start shouting rankadedes and we start voting for them, then we are going to suffer for long. I think what Nigerians should see now, left for me, if every Nigerian is to think like me, honestly speaking, I will not waste my time or vote for any of these people who have been moving around. It only their heads that the cap fits? What we are supposed to do now, like I said, Nigerians are supposed to go out, you know, with all vigor, sensitizing people and creating a third force. And like I said, the third force can emerge even from the already existing political parties, not the dominant ones now, through a candidate. You know, we have a consensus candidate, but unfortunately what we are still seeing in Nigeria is that we are still at the level of, you know, tribalism, we are still at the level of ethnicity, we are still at the level of religious affiliation or ideology. No, it has passed that level. What we are supposed to be thinking about now is to set aside our religious affiliation, set aside our ethnic affiliation, set aside our tribal sentiment, set aside every form of ideology, and put the welfare, security, and the interest of Nigerians at heart, and bring out a candidate.
All right, Dr. Mrs. Stella Omonigo is a lecturer with the Department of Foreign Languages, University of Benin, Benin City. Always willing to share her line of thoughts whenever it comes to political issues, national issues, as you know, a good citizen of this country. Very, very thank you for finding time to come on the program today.
Thank you
so
for
much.
having me.
All right, now we've got Mr. Austin Odile, who is the State Director for the National Orientation Agency. And we're going to be talking about issues bordering about orientating the electorate at this time as the 2023 presidential election, you know, comes around. Please stay tuned.